Glenn Dyer, and you are watching a Dyer-Situation. Today, I am going to be watching The Collection, the sequel to the slasher film, The Collector. Now, as for The Collector, I only recently watched it, like it couldn't have been more than 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was pretty decent for a slasher film. You know, it had all the basic elements, but basically I just kind of felt it started off badly. Like, I really didn't like anyone in there, but as it progressed, you got to, the main character grew on me, and, you know, it just turned out pretty cool and stuff, you know. I did like the imagination with all those elaborate traps and stuff. That's what I like about these things. And from the looks of it, this is a typical horror movie sequel where it's basically the same movie, so hopefully I should like it as well. So yeah, I'll see you in an hour. And I'm back, and well, that was okay. Let's see. The beginning, it started off better than its predecessor. Like, you know, we actually got to know the person a little more. The person wasn't a total douchebag. What can I say? He kind of was at the beginning of the other movie. But still, the thing, no real backstory. There's a little bit of one. You feel a little connected to her, but come on, nothing. And that's the same with practically everyone. Even the guy from the last movie, he plays the main character in this one as well. You still really don't know that much about him, you know. You know, from the last movie, he really likes his wife. He's willing to go through a lot for her, but in this one, she's barely seen. He just says, "Go to your mother's," or something, and we never see her again. She's really a minor character and has barely anything to do with this. It becomes a real revenge story eventually, and yeah. The thing is, like, especially in horror movies, you know, the villain in horror movies, you know, he doesn't necessarily have to be two-dimensional or three-dimensional. He can be a one-dimensional character in a horror movies, and that works out fine. In fact, it's a little scarier because, but in that genre, because you don't know anything about him, you don't know how he works, you don't know how he thinks, and, you know, it seems almost like ominous, like he's a spirit or something. It's pretty that can work pretty well. But when your main characters are also one-dimensional, you know, it's just nothing. It's just a couple fingers fighting each other. You know, you really, I don't even know what that means, but but you know, you really can't get invested in them. You don't feel like strongly about them. However, as in the last one, the climax kicked ass. Okay? Alright. Like, for most of the first one, like, it was decent. Like, I love those traps. I love how elaborate they are, and how we thought of all these interesting ways to slaughter the people and stuff. You know, I like that kind of creativity. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm actually fond of the Final Destination series. Just because, like, they come up with these really creative ways to get these people, you know. That's just kind of my thing. But anyway, that's the thing. And in the first one, like, you know, really creative ways, and then but you know, it's still just kind of okay, not really plot driven. You don't really care too much about anyone, but definitely in the climax, there's a lot of ass kicking. There's a lot of characters being smart, like using his own traps against him and stuff, and that was really freaking cool, and I was like cheering, and I was like, yeah! And then the ending to it was really good. But in this one, it does the same thing. There's a real kick-ass climax, you know, and you're like, holy shit, yeah, get him! Like, you know, they're just brawling, and like he's being smart. He's using stuff from earlier in the movie to get him, and you know, that was being really cool, and then afterwards you kind of see like a thing like, oh, he might still be alive and something like that, and that's really cool, and then they ruin it. All right, so after that, basically like it just starts. Oh boy, how do I even explain it? without spoiling it. A spoiler. Well, let's see. Well, it just kind of ruins the character, you know, because, like, what kind of happens is he basically becomes a villain. I'm not going to say what he does, but he basically becomes a villain because of the villain, and I guess that's how they're planning on continuing the series, but really? I mean, that's what you've been building up to? He's become a villain now? When were you leading to this? It's honestly pretty lame. And, you know, it was a real letdown in that fashion. Plus, you know, even for the bits I really liked about the movie, like, the ways of killing the people, you know, there was very few interesting ways that he did it. I mean, in the original, you know, there was like, oh geez, there was like hot glue on the ground that was like burning people and sticking them there, but this one I think the most creative that he gets is with the giant slashing blade that was in the commercial that was chops down all those people. That's about the most creative he gets. The rest is just pretty lame or stuff that doesn't make much sense, like turning people into savage animals with drugs and somehow controlling that in a way. I really don't know. But in that way it was kind of a letdown, and so basically I really do think that the original was better, not by that much, but by enough. You can definitely tell. There's probably going to be another one, and maybe they'll do better than that. I mean, say in the Nightmare on Elm Street series, the second Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty bad. The third one was really good, so maybe they'll do better. You know, you never know. So yeah, that is the collection. As for the next show, I am really not sure. Let's see. I'm not quite sure what's coming out this week that I can see. So I guess you're gonna have to be surprised. But in 2 weeks from today, I'm gonna have to. The Hobbit will be out, so I'll be seeing that. So without further ado, I'm Glenn Dyer, and you have been watching A Dire Situation.